Got a cold start for the boys. Buckled up because safety first, you know. Alrighty guys, how are you guys doing? Hopefully you guys have been enjoying the series of the Scion Xb. Today I just kind of wanted to hop into pretty much where we're at with the Scion now. I've mentioned this in another video. If you guys caught it, props to you. But pretty much I still have the car. I haven't got it flipped, and the reason I wanted to name this series How Not to Flip a Car was because I wanted people to not follow my example. Pretty much I got carried away with doing a lot of other things before I figured out the major issue that was wrong with this car, and it's gonna surprise you. This car had me beyond frustrated because I couldn't figure out what was making it overheat, which was the biggest issue. It started coming back, it started happening again, and I just kept running circles around this car, attacking it from all different angles. And I forgot just one little simple thing. When I bled the cooling system, pretty much there's a way that you could like let it keep bleeding, and it shouldn't bleed for more than maybe 20 minutes. But the thing is, I only let it run about 15 because that's what I learned when I was younger. Get it up to operating temps instead of let it finish burping. It kept burping up more air through the radiator, and that is a sign of a bad head gasket. Now, a head gasket job is a lot. So I'm gonna put it on pause because I gotta order my coffee so we can continue this conversation. The car has a bad head gasket, come to find out. Now, a bad head gasket is a pretty big job. Most shops will charge you anywhere between $1,500 on the low end to about $3,500, but that's on the higher end. It does take a lot of time, a lot of work. You got to send the head of the motor off to a machine shop to resurface everything and make it flat before. You can't just take apart the head and put a new head gasket on. I mean, you could, but it's not going to be perfectly flat. And then you're going to run into probably the same issue again of having some sort of head gasket leak. And that goes back to overheating. Pretty much the motor's no good is what I would say. The motor does have 226,000 miles, something like that. This vehicle already has a lot of mileage, and I could do a head gasket job, but the problem is, to do a head gasket job, I can save myself a lot of money, but the machine shop, you're never going to save yourself money from the machine shop. They always got to charge you because they have high machinery, and it's very specific things that they got to do in order to make everything perfect. They do a leak down test, make sure everything else is functioning properly, there's no cracks or anything else in the actual head of the motor, and then the block of the motor as well, the bottom half. They just got to check everything and resurface everything, and all that machining work takes time and it takes money. That really only left me with one other option, and that was to order another motor, which I have yet to do so because it's not the cheapest. It's also not the most expensive whatsoever. It's relatively inexpensive motor for being only like 50,000 miles. I find these all the time with 50 or 60,000 miles for like $1,200 to $1,500. These motors are not that bad. Now, getting into everything that this car has done. And so what I did off camera, so I'll put a B-roll out here so you guys can kind of see what I'm talking about that I never put on camera because I got lazy, for one, let's be honest. And for two, the big thing was I was frustrated though, and I didn't want to just give you guys something to watch that I'm kind of shooting in the dark, is how I'll put it. I ended up fixing the fender liners. I forgot I never put that in the video. So I put new fender liners on the driver and passenger side. I fixed the headlights. I bought some OEM ones that were used, of course, not brand new or nothing, but that were used and they weren't the greatest. So I did a Cerakote headlight repair or restoration on it. And so now they look like brand new pretty much. And I ended up buying the OEM brackets for the bumper, where the bumper meets the fender. Now there's also very specific brackets for the rear bumper, and it was missing those. I don't know if it was missing them or they were messed up or whatever the case was, but I ended up replacing them because it was not holding in the bumper. I ended up also replacing the door locks. The driver and passenger side both got repaired. The two handles got replaced and the key locks got replaced. So now it has a key to open the driver and passenger door, and then a key to turn the car on. Next was the front bumper. This car had a messed up front bumper. The car was missing the half bottom portion of the front bumper and the half bottom portion of the rear bumper. Now I replaced the full rear bumper from a parts car, and then I ended up getting a different front bumper as well. And then the daytime running lights as well, I ended up replacing those on this car, or I guess technically they're the fog lights for this vehicle. They remind me of like a Rocket Bunny kit. I also replaced the front windshield. The front windshield was completely destroyed. It was already like cracking. I'm sure throughout the videos you guys might have seen it, the first 2 series. There was multiple hairline cracks through the front windshield. So I got that replaced completely. I replaced all the windshield wipers as well, which I didn't put. I restored a lot of the black plastics that go, like the weather stripping that goes in the front, right in front of the front windshield, but I did a Cerakote repair kit on it, so it rejuvenates and brings it back to life, and it makes it look like dark black again instead of like a faded black. I found an engine cover. The car also got brand new brakes in the front and the rear, including rotors, and in the rear they're drum brakes. So I put new shoes on it, new hardware on it, and I also did new pistons, I want to call them. They're like the little brake pistons for the rear brakes. I bled the full system of the brakes with brand new brake fluid so it could stop on a dime, and they work amazing. I put brand new all-season tires. I ended up doing a full detail on the car as well. I steam cleaned the whole headliner and everything that needed to be steam cleaned, and then I did a shampooing of all the cushion seats and then the carpet as well. So I took out the front and passenger seat. I shampooed the carpet, drill brushed it, and just got out a lot of muck that was stuck and engraved into the carpet itself. I also did the expansion tank that goes along the radiator. I had replaced it originally on one of the first videos with the original one that was to the car, but come to find out, I want to say the last owner ended up using some sort of head gasket repair kit or something, and it ended up clogging the lines and the expansion tank itself at the bottom. So I had to get that whole thing replaced. I ended up doing a new water pump. I replaced that. I had to do it 3 times because the first time I didn't do it right. The second time I didn't put thread locker on the bolts. So then the third time I finally did everything right. And then I repaired the power steering pump for a second time as well. You guys saw me finish it up on the second series. And the thing is, I finished it up and I did it, but the pulley was starting to squeak and make noise. So the parts car I had gotten a lot of these parts from was wrecked in the front, and I never thought about it, but it ended up bending the bracket and bending the actual pulley. So it was doing this shimmy thing while it was sitting on the car, and it was just squeaking really bad and loud. So I ordered a brand new pump, and I used the OEM bracket that I had on my old pump, all the like hardware and brackets. I used that to put it and mount it all back together. And I did an oil pan, which I thought I filmed, but I didn't. Somehow that one got lost in the footage somewhere. But I did a full oil pan restoration. It was leaking really bad whenever we first got the car. So I'm glad I ended up getting that taken care of. That's a sick G80. So this car got the works, man. But like I said, all of that would have mattered a little bit more if I did not fail to do one thing, and that was to further diagnose the engine to find out that it was a bad head gasket. Believe it or not, guys, this car had already been sold off. So I had already sold the vehicle. I was gonna scrap the footage, and pretty much I ended up selling it for $3,300 to some people who are from Wyoming. Now I live in Colorado. They came down, they were in town for a little bit, found the car on the marketplace, and they came to check it out. They liked it, they bought it, they took it. He calls me about 2 hours later. He's like, hey, we're just about to take off and the coolant is boiling. And I was like, the coolant is boiling, what? And I was just so confused. I thought it was fine. I'd drive it and there would be no issue. But then when I got it back, it started having that red coolant flashing light on the dash, and the temperature wouldn't rise crazy. It maybe go a little bit over operation temperature, but pretty much it was starting to overheat. There was the beginning stages, and thankfully we caught it early and they didn't continue driving it after that. So I got it back home, I left it parked up, and since then it's been sitting. Have a seat. But we made it back from getting a coffee. My camera ended up getting too hot and shutting off on me, so everything that we got done to this car was not necessarily all for nothing. I was gonna do a lot of this stuff regardless, like the brakes, the tires, stuff like that. The car had been sitting for a good while, the bumper and all that stuff. They had to get done anyway. The main thing was the water pump, things like the oil pan. The amount of money I was supposed to spend on this car jumped up, not by much, to be completely honest, maybe a few $100, But this car's a great car. For how many miles it has, honestly, I've restored it to a pretty good shape, to be in pretty good shape. But this whole video is really just a lesson for you guys to learn through my eyes and my experience, and don't repeat the same mistake. But it also comes with the territory. Flipping cars is very fun, and it's gonna come with ups and downs. Sometimes you win, sometimes you lose, but you never have high reward with no high risk. And these things are risky sometimes. You can put it out there, people aren't willing to give you what you're asking for. You know, people don't see the process that you go through in order to restore these cars, so they don't think it's worth it. So if you guys are into flipping or want to get into flipping, I highly advise you to just be wary of what you're getting yourself into. Expect the best, but be prepared for the worst, is probably the mindset I would carry through flipping cars. If you wanted to get into this, and I'm not a big car flipper or anything like that by any means. It's something that I've always done off to the side that's always allowed me to collect a little bit of money to put more money into my project cars. And that's the reason I picked it up, was because it's very beneficial to me. I feel like it's super helpful, and thankfully I have the skill set. I was gifted with the skill set in order to be able to repair a car and understand how components work in a vehicle and be able to repair them and get them back to tip-top shape, and then sell them off. And also negotiating with people, you know, not everybody's gonna want the price that you want, but you gotta kind of find a middle ground for both of you to come up on top. There's a Scion, as you can see it, she still sits with me. I got a couple of things planned for it as far as getting it off my hands, so I'll keep you guys posted with that later in the future. If you guys get another random Scion video, or it might just be part of a clip, who knows. But it's been a fun series. It was a lot of content to edit, but I enjoyed going through it and just reliving it with you guys. Just rewatching that, it really kept me motivated to want to do more. Although this one was, I would say, a flop, I would say a fail, but only if I let it continue to be. It's up to me to dig myself out and push forward. Right now I'm just saving my money up. That way I can put the motor in this car, and as soon as I put the new motor in, we're literally just gonna get it flipped right out of my hands and onto the next home. This is called How to Not Flip a Car. Pretty much just do your homework, put in that little extra time, and further diagnose as much as you possibly can. Diagnose, then repair what needs to be repaired. And then you can actually attack all the accessories and everything, because two, if you need a quick out, junkyards will buy the car back for, you know, at least a few hundred. So you don't completely lose in this game. You sometimes cut even, you sometimes take a little bit of a loss, but the more diagnosing you do on your end and the more homework you do on your end, the more likely you are to come out on top and really get things done the right way from the get-go. Sir, stop interrupting me. Before I was rudely interrupted. Hopefully you guys did enjoy this series again, guys. It was such a great time, and I look forward to doing it maybe again in the future to show you guys what, you know, a good flip looks like, and not just the bad. But sometimes you got to show the bad and the good. Like one would say, shit happens. So I learned a lot in this process myself, and hopefully it taught you guys something that you guys don't have to go out of your way to learn the hard way like I did. That's gonna end it for the video, guys. That's gonna end it for the series as well. Look forward to more car content, car show content. I got a couple of things lined up for the E36. I got a couple car parts to install there. The WRX is gonna have a couple of upcoming projects hopefully soon. Thank you guys again so much for watching. Truly, guys, it's a pleasure. I appreciate each and every single one of you guys' support. And the channel is growing vastly. We just passed 200 subscribers, guys. I cannot thank you guys enough. If you guys are one of the ones watching, seriously, you guys are troopers. Seriously, you guys don't know how much this means to me, and it's great to put the content out there and that actually people follow and enjoy it just as much as I enjoy making. So hopefully you guys did enjoy again. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. We'll catch you in the next one. Till then, keep it true. Peace.